Welcome, YouTube. Welcome to Off the Ropes. Good morning. It's been a while. Sorry, Philly Drew. And first, let me go ahead and introduce my guest, Chicano. How you doing, man? Welcome back. It's been a while.
Thank you, man. Happy to be here, dude. It's fight day, and well, we almost didn't pull off a show, but dude, Canelo's fighting. It's Cinco de Mayo. It's Jaime Munguia. It's Mexico versus Mexico, and I'm glad you made it happen, Georgie.
Hey, man. Come on. We all been on the bus. Philly's even in there. It's good to see you too, Drew. But yeah, it's been. I mean, we've been on our chat. We've been back and forth. I've been called the PBC lover, the Canelo hater. And Philly Drew's in there too, so I'm glad. We're a pair there. We're the two Canelo haters in the group chat. But I guess I'm just speaking my mind, or I'm trying to be down the line. I mean, I'm not trying to be an extreme on both ends, but I'm trying to be right down the middle. But again, man, we almost didn't make this happen, but I knew it was fight week. I knew once this fight was close to being made, one of us is going to do it. It's either going to be Chicano or Off the Ropes. But I'm glad I went with it. It's a little shaky, or I feel a little shaky, but it's like riding a bike. You never forget. But what we have in store today, of course, just a few topics. We're just gonna go ahead and talk about the Canelo, and then of course the stuff that's been going on with Ryan Garcia. Nothing too crazy, just the controversy, man, and where we see this, the conspiracies and everything, and again in our chat, I think most of us are in agreement with going down that rabbit hole, being conspiracy theorists or believing the crazy stuff and that we see. But yeah, man, again, welcome back. Shout out to Julian. Hopefully Julian's watching. I do see 3 people are watching with us. He's in Florence, Arizona. He's got his young fighters there with the Reyes camp. Good luck to those guys, and bring Tucson home some championships, some belts, some wins, man, because we love to see that. We love to see the local stuff going on, and yeah, man, we're just trying to get our feet right back under us again. Julian has been doing a lot of the legwork. He's been in the gyms. He's been at fights, ringside, in the press box, giving us the insight. Too bad we can't share the insight, but hey, dude, I respect it. We all respect it that, you got to keep that promise to the sources, but it's for a good topic and good for conversation in the group chat that we have. Chicano, it's been a while, man. I know you're in Tucson. We met in Phoenix for the first time. Me, you, and D Styles. We were at the at the Bam Rodriguez fight and Edwards. How are things going with you, man? What's going on?
Man, everything's cool, dude. You know what I mean? And for those wondering, man, well, I wouldn't call our show like an indefinite hiatus, but we're all busy, we're all blessed. Everything's cool. We're still in our chat, having a good time. You know what I mean? Yes, George is a PBC fanboy. No, I'm just kidding. You know what? No, but you know what? He's welcome to his opinion. And I told him it's not personal. It's just that we have our opinion and he has his. So, I mean, it kind of seems lopsided, but we would feel the way we would feel anyway. So it's not like against George. It's just a different opinion. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like there's things that I do agree with George about, and I think I'm going to get into that
I
a little bit
appreciate
later.
that.
Yeah, of course.
I do appreciate that. Somebody has
to. But things are cool, man. I mean, things are cool. We're blessed, we're happy, and so who knows? We might get this thing going again, and if not, we do appreciate those who enjoy what we have to say, man. And we're out there always listening. There's a lot of good YouTube content out there, all kinds of drama, especially with this Haney thing, man. A lot of drama going on with that. I can't wait to talk about that one later too. It's kind of dwarfed the Canelo Munguia. Well, at least with certain channels, certain groups of people. Like this whole Haney Garcia thing is totally, just totally put a cloud over the Canelo fight weekend.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. It really has, and there's a lot that goes that's been going into it. With him leaving PBC, him coming back a couple weeks later. Rick Glazer's name thrown out there. Rick Glazer being called the god of the news and called a hater. I mean, it's all over the place with Rick Glazer. So like the saying goes, like you just got to take it with a grain of salt, what he says. But he has been pretty accurate. Like if this is baseball, I'm saying he's batting about like 475, so that's a pretty good batting average. He hasn't been completely wrong, and he hasn't been completely right. But again, it's the shenanigans with the PBC and stuff like that. I'm not gonna say that I am like a PBC fan. I think I like to give the benefit of the doubt to other promoters, right? Like, I mean, yeah, they have been pretty shitty the last couple of years, but if you look at the last 2 years, they've been doing good. And I think because it was, they had their arms twisted behind their back, like, what's going on. Like they knew that the stuff that they've been doing has been pretty bullshit. Steven Espinosa holding up fights, he's pretty much the one that's the guy that's calling for these fights to happen. But they knew already that they were coming to a close last year, so they decided they got to make the maximum money as much as they could with the fights they put on. And then this year we see that Turkey Al Sheikh is working with pretty much all the promoters, which is a good thing, because at first nobody really knew where it was going to go. It was just strictly Matchroom, Queensberry, and Bob Arum and Top Rank, and now you have everybody there. So that's pretty much all the main entities that hold boxing together. And if he's the super glue, then I'm all for it. Like, put the stuff together, and we are seeing great fights that are being made. Like he got the card in June, the 5-on-5. The unfortunate news with Bivol and Better Beef being injured. Nobody knows who the fill-in is, but we're all speculating, or we can all assume, or what we would like to see. We'd like to see that who other than Benavidez, why not? Like he does got a fight coming up soon, so I think he could be prepared or be ready for a June fight with Bivol. And they got history, right? They got the supposed sparring matches. Everybody's saying that Benavidez has got the best of Bivol, but we all know, like, if you understand boxing and you're down on the ground on it, that sparring isn't everything. Like it's practice. But it happens. Gym wars happen. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Chicano, on I guess, like, with LOC coming in and I guess pretty much saving boxing, right? He's got the cape, he's got his cape on, and he's trying to make these fights happen, and he's making them happen fast. We got the big card in August. Like, what are your thoughts on this, man?
I think it's great. I think that he is a boxing fan. I think he has a big old bank. And well, he's doing what I would do. I always told myself, okay, like this is a dumb example, but when the Crawford versus Spence negotiations were going on and they couldn't really come to a deal, I told myself, well, if I hit the $1 billion lottery, I'd throw 10 million at these fools. Say, if the difference is like, 5 to 10 million here, take this. I want to see this damn fight already, right? So he's got a big old bank, right? So he's putting together all these fights, and dude, everybody's just falling in line because everybody wants to get a piece, and nobody else is paying like that anymore. And people are looking to get paid, bro. So I like it. And I'm glad that he can work with different promotional companies. Like he doesn't have to deal with any of that Bethel or previous drama. He's new, and all he wants to do is overpay, right? I mean, that's music to anybody's ears. So, dude, I am totally down for what's going on. And it seems to me like he's already got a very good working relationship with the PBC, man. And that makes me happy. Yeah, dude, like maybe we could see Benavidez. Like, what's the reason now? These guys talk about how they want to be active. Well, now you're about to get paid. The barriers are breaking down. Like, I don't know if this is going to last forever, honestly. Like, I mean, this could change, but we should enjoy it while we can, because, I mean, before this, we were not getting a lot of fights. So I'm pleased, man.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, at the time, I guess we could say maybe a month ago, when Benavidez was getting interviewed and talking about how he would love to fight in Saudi or fight with Al Sheikh, that there was a barrier. There was something that was holding him up, and it was his loyalty to PBC or to his advisor. And looking now, like, I mean, I feel now what you see what the Turkey is doing. Hold on, really quick. What's up, Nopal? Welcome, man. Good morning.
Nopal.
Yeah, he's here. He's here. What's up, Nopal? Good morning.
What's up, bros? I'm doing good. I'm trying to get my headphones to work. I'm actually taking a jog with the dogs. So,
oh, nice.
I just wanted to kind of just listen to you guys.
Yeah,
Can
no,
you guys
for
hear
sure,
me?
brother. Yeah, we can hear you. You're on the show right now. I don't know if you know that. I mean, I know I sent the link in the chat, but You click the link to come onto the show if that's okay with you. I mean, if you want to sit and listen, you can, or if you want to,
No,
put
I'm
your
gonna
input as
go
well.
out and just listen to you guys on the other end.
No,
Okay.
Paul, you got a prediction for the fight?
Yeah, give us real quick.
Say I'll try to come back in, okay?
All
Okay.
right.
All right, damn.
Well, that was no Paul.
Yeah, that was no Paul, man. That's the other that's the original one of the original halves of the Al Chile show that
That's right,
was a part
man.
of, man. Yeah,
He's a YTBC legend, and people just, they haven't been around long enough to know
yeah,
it.
they didn't put some respect on that guy's name, man. He's been around a long time. Him
That's
and
right.
Run. Yeah, can't forget Run. The Shoe Shine, all them guys, man, all
Yep.
great. But again, there's nothing holding up Benavidez now from coming onto these cards with Al Sheik. Now here's the chance. Here's your chance. Are you just talking a good game, or like you really want to be about it? Like here's the chance to show and prove what you want to do. Like you can. Here it is. Here's your opportunity. Here's your opportunity, I would say.
Oh, definitely. I'm excited, man. I cannot wait for that August card. We were talking about it earlier, man. That August card is ridiculous. And dude, it's just nothing but good news for now, bro. So I'm just gonna ride that wave and enjoy boxing. It's nice to have like good potential boxing matches to look forward to instead of thinking why things can't happen. Things were held up for too long,
Yeah, no, you're right, man. I mean, just looking back a year or even 2 years ago, it was like it would, a lot of fights were happening in between. Like you had like the zone coming on, but everybody was just getting used to knowing who these UK fighters. Like if you had one foot in where you knew some of the boxing and you didn't, like you're just like, all right, I think I heard of this guy. But now, like, there's been a lot of appreciation of the zone now, like because the fighters they've been putting on and pushing these UK fighters onto us. Because just a couple years ago, I'll be honest, like I was one of them too, but I've changed my mind because I understand it more. But people were calling Canelo, saying that he was running through Euro bums because nobody knew who these UK guys were. And platforms like the Zone come along and they introduce these UK fighters. They give them a platform because the Zone is strictly international. So now you got to know who these guys are, and it gives more appreciation to what he has done in that division. And we could stop calling these guys Euro bums. I feel like it's disrespectful, and these were legit belts. So again, I appreciate that the Zone has done that, putting these UK guys on, and it's a good thing, man. And only good things are gonna come from this Al Sheik thing. Again, just a couple years ago, we had maybe like a good fight every 2-3 months, and then now, like, just look at from now till August, it's nothing but good stuff. It's fights that we would hope to see, and now we're getting some of these fights that we want. I know we want to see Crawford and Boots. I believe that will be made. I mean, you got them. You got Crawford now. I think it's like 3 to 5 fights with Al Sheik. I feel like that fight will be made in the future. I know he could have contested again for a third undisputed at 147. My stance on it was you got the bout stripped from you for no reason. It wasn't like you were supposed to have a rematch with Spence. Spence kind of fucked that up. Was supposed to happen in December, didn't happen. Then January comes around, February comes around, and okay, the fight's gonna be in March. Then all of a sudden he's getting eye surgery, so it kind of put a standstill to that. And at the same time, yeah, we would love to see him fight Boots, and I would love to see that happen. But I think that will happen eventually because you got the Zone, you got Al Sheik. He's said it. He's wanted that fight. He wants the Canelo and Crawford fight. He wants all the good fights. So
you think Boots would move up then?
I think eventually, man. I think he's seeing what we're seeing with these fighters, right? Like Haney, for instance, like too big for the division. Like the punch resistance. We don't know what Boots' punch resistance is yet. Like he hasn't really been hit clean or been hit in the temple, so we don't really know. I mean, he looks great. The footwork, he switches back and forth. He's got power. He struggled a little bit against Karen, but bounced back against Ruben Villa. So I think he's there. I think he might have maybe 1 or 2 more fights at 147. And if he's chasing Crawford like he says he has, I think he should chase Crawford in the 154. And there would be that would be a reason for Crawford to have an undisputed at a third weight, right? What do you think? Do you think that'll happen?
Uh, Dude, it depends, man. Like I think Crawford is still trying to get that Canelo payday if it's possible, but and that's the only thing that I think would hang that kind of fight up, you know. And how many years does Crawford have left? I mean, what's his pace, dude? Like it has been over a year since he fought. That's crazy.
Yeah, it
So
will be.
yeah, it's a shame too. You know, there's really no good reason for it. I mean, in my opinion. So I could see Crawford potentially trying to get that fight early May next year. If Canelo can get through May and September with all those belts, I mean, he could make the jump. If Crawford wins, right, in August, you know, we're trying to go to that fight, right? All these crews are trying to go to that fight, but if they pull that fight off and they win, right? If Crawford wins, I could see it happening. Why not? You know, it's for the generation, but Crawford's only got like a few good fights left, you know, like he's what 37, 38,
Yeah,
like he's getting up there, man. So,
yeah.
and I do you know, like you said, he kind of passes the eye test, you know, and if he's as good, like when it comes to fighting an elite person, like when he's passing the eye test for us, like if he's actually that good against the elite, I could actually, I don't know if that makes sense, but he actually might give Crawford some problems if, you know, like I said, what I see in the eye test actually translate at the elite level. Cause sometimes a person just looks great, right? And then when they face somebody who's elite, like it just doesn't look that great anymore, like Andrade, right? Or I remember when everybody's talking about like, oh, Caleb Plant, his ring IQ, ring IQ, ring IQ. I'm like, well, he hasn't fought anybody yet. You know, like it's easy to look great against somebody who, you know, you're obviously like way better than. You know, we're talking about elite level fighting. And when you get to the elite level fighting, things don't always look the same. And you know, we interviewed Cody Crowley on El Chile, you know, and he's my homie and I'm rooting for him, you know what? But I mean, Boots is a man, he's a beast. You know, so I'm praying for Cody Crowley, but yeah. And but my point is like, you know, I still don't think Boots has fought anybody as qualified as Cody Crowley. So when you don't see somebody fight at the top level, it's different when they get to that level. I mean, look how many people say like, you know, they say, oh, it's different when you get to the top level and you get under the lights and you're facing like the superstars of the sport. Like, yeah, it is different. People think they can go in there and beat Canelo. Look at Jermell. He's like, oh, I could beat Canelo. I could beat Canelo. Well, you didn't beat Canelo. You didn't beat him at all. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But I'm a big fan of Boots, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I am. I mean, I'm on record saying that I'm a big fan of Crawford as well, and I'm a fan of Boots, and just in general, like I'm a fan of all boxing, like of everybody. Like if I take a liking into you, like I'm gonna really like what I'm seeing, and I have expectations. Like if Crawford would have been fighting Josh Kelly, like I definitely would have had some negative shit to say. I was not impressed. I mean, yeah, we saw some highlights, but nobody really knew who Josh Kelly is, and no one really knows who Madrimov is either. Like he's got 10 fights. He does have a legit strap. He did fight on one of the Saudi Arabia cards, so he got a little bit of exposure there. And we really don't know exactly what he's going to bring, but we just know from what we hear is he's considered to be like the next Triple G, but a little more athletic. We've only seen one fight of him, so we really don't know. But if there was a choice for me to actually to like, it's definitely Madrimov because he does have a belt. You know, Crawford is chasing 154 to try to get all the bouts there too. And I agree, like as a fan of Crawford, and not just Crawford, but in boxing in general, like you want to see these guys more active, especially if you're 37. But how many more fights does he have? I mean, does he have one fight, two fights? I mean, imagine he goes to this fight and this doesn't turn out well. Like, Father Time is undefeated, like they say. He's knocking on his door. Doesn't have a good performance. You know, what's next for him? I mean, he kind of sat on his hands unintentionally, but it's what things are the way things are now with boxing. It's showing that there's some change. Like we are hopefully to see that these guys are active, and we're seeing the fighters at PBC that inactivity is not good. Like you have to be active. You do got to live that boxer's life, which the one thing we could say on Crawford's side is that box is checked, that he does live a boxer's life. You know, we've never heard him in trouble. He says he's never done drugs. He stays pretty much in shape. So and he's never really been in any wars. I mean, yeah, he was in the fight with Kavalauskas and Sean Porter, and Benavidez, I think, and Gamboa. I guess you could say those are pretty much the only fights where he took in some damage or they were a little more competitive. So the wear and tear, we don't know yet until he actually gets in there with, and it's up at a different division. And this is his first fight at 154. If this is a tune-up, this is a pretty fucking solid tune-up, I would think.
Yeah, I think Crawford's pretty solid at 147, right? Like I don't view him as a guy who's like, oh, he's bursting at the seams. He needs to move up. Like I do think this is going to be a little bit of a step up, and Crawford is pound for pound, right? And I do expect him to win, but this will be the biggest fighter he's faced as far as size goes. I mean, and it will make a difference. There are weight classes for a reason, and I think Crawford was perfect almost at 147. So he might be stepping up just a little bit. I mean, but that's what all-time greats do, right? They fight above their level. Like this would be like, I don't know. I think you could make an equivalent of like when Canelo entered like 168. I think this is kind of like that for Crawford. Not necessarily 175. Like if he went to 160 and did something, then I would compare like that to when Canelo went up to 175. But that's just me.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like it's a long stretch. And who knows? Like I'm not counting on that fight to happen. I know you got the guy to make it happen, but I'm not depending on that fight. If it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. But if it happens, like goddamn, like hopefully he did everything right to put himself in that position to get to that fight. Like he got the right wins, didn't go through hell, didn't get hurt. But I mean, I'm not depending on that fight. I know we were expecting it, or it was a fight talked about before the Jamel Charlo fight, which showed to everybody that weight classes are for a reason, right? I mean, I know Jamel is a pretty big dude. He probably walks around at 190, but has never fought above 154. So he's never really taken any shots from somebody bigger. And Canelo has been acclimated above 154 for a while now, 160 and 168 and then 175. So he's already fought in the big boys, and he knows what it feels like to fight guys that are punchers, and someone be coming up. So that went out the window. But speaking of Canelo, I know we don't have too much time, but the reason why we're here, man, look at Canelo. I mean, Chicano dripped out in the Canelo. Look at the hat. Check them out. I wish I had some virtual dollars or AI dollars at you. I'll throw them. But dude, we're here for a reason. I was hoping we could do a show. We got the show. You know, you're saying that you don't know if you had the time. So I went and I made the time so that way we could talk about it, because it's kind of tradition. If you look at the shows that Chicanos put on, it's been Canelo. It's been Canelo's time. Today is the day. It's been fight week. I was hoping to do it before fight week, but it's definitely before the fight. So, yeah, man. I mean, here we are. May 4th be with you. It's fight day. I'm excited. It's Mexico versus Mexico. It's the undisputed king at 150, at 160, 168. Top 3, top 4 in my books, pound for pound. Saul Canelo. Saul. I mean, what more can I say, man? This is a good weekend for fights. It's Mexico versus Mexico. I know at first not too many people, or I still don't think too many people are too excited about it. But when you really look at it and you start taking the part, unraveling what is going to happen, you got the history behind it. It's an exciting fight. Like you want to see if the questions that people have about where Canelo's at in his career. He had a good showing against Jermel. He showed that he wasn't on a decline, but then again, I feel, in my opinion, that Jermel didn't give resistance back. Canelo was just moving forward. I think if this was Canelo at the start of 168 when he fought Caleb Plant, I think he would have been able to get him out, regardless of Jermel running around and surviving. That's what I think. I think if this was Canelo a couple years ago, he would have been able to get him out of there. But today will be answered. Like what really does he have left? Was it the injuries? Is it creeping up on him? Is it on the back of his shoulders? Like, hey, I'm here. Like, you've been fighting since you were 15. I heard a couple of days ago that he has over, like, I don't know if it's 600 rounds or 300 rounds of professional boxing since he's been a pro.
Wow.
That's a lot, man. 64 fights, and you're 33. When you look at the age number, it doesn't sound like you're old. It still feels, and it sounds like it's prime, considered for other boxers, right? They're fighting 2 times a year, but he's been fighting. He's been active. He's fighting Jaime Munguia, 27 years old. This is his third fight at 168. He beat the guy that he could not stop. I believe it was perfect for Munguia. So softened up John Ryder, got him out of there. But again, here it is, man. It is May 4th. I'm excited for this. Chicano, I know you're excited for this. When this fight was made, what were your thoughts? What did you think? Was this a fight you were happy with, or did you just grow to love it?
Well, let me say I've always really liked Jaime Munguia. You know, people have been shitting on his style for a long time. I understand that he's technically flawed, but I accepted him as a fighter. He was fun to watch. I always watched Jaime Munguia. Well, everybody does as a hardcore fan, right? But he's entertaining. You could say he got a gift against Hogan, right? The Deveryanchenko fight was close, you know. But all things considered, man, I think he's fun to watch. And so this particular fight, this comes on the heels of him beating Ryder. Now, I went to that fight with my homie Julian. It was great, man, and his dad. Like, so I've been a fan of Jaime Munguia's. Now, I do think that Ryder win was impressive. I do think that Munguia's gotten better. And I do think that Munguia is, you can make an argument that he's top 4 at 168. Like, I think he's right up there. He beat in my opinion, what would be like a top 5 guy. Like, Canelo has cleaned out that division a little bit. Like, you know, and I'm going to go back this. I went to watch Canelo versus Callum Smith when he entered 168. Now, Callum Smith was the standing lineal number 1 ranked champion. A lot of people just kind of forget that, right? Conveniently forget that. But I think we all wanted to see the Benavidez fight, though, for this Cinco de Mayo. I mean, it makes sense. We didn't get that fight for one reason or the other. Now, I do think that would have been a better fight to see. I do think that Benavidez is a higher ranked fighter than Jaime Munguia. But, you know, I also think that this fight has a lot of history. Now, you're asking me if I've grown to love this fight, okay? Now, we talked about this on Chile, and I think you were there. Like, you know, there was this reputation for a long time that Canelo, he ducks Mexican fighters, okay? Now, if you've been around, you know that this started because of Jaime Munguia, right? Before he lost, well, he beat Dennis Hogan, but before that fight, people thought Canelo was ducking Jaime Munguia because he said, well, nothing's off the table, but I prefer not to fight Mexicans. That's what he said. He didn't say no. He said, nothing's off the table, but I would prefer not to fight Mexicans, right? And everybody's like, oh, he's ducking Munguia. He doesn't want to fight Mexicans. This was a narrative going on for a while, right? Keep in mind, Munguia was a 154-pounder while Canelo was at 160 pounds. So they weren't even in the same division, okay? But then this reputation carried on to, oh, well, Canelo's not fighting Benavidez either because he just doesn't want to face Mexicans, right? And I understand that Canelo's kind of getting that reputation where, well, you know, he's giving us what we want, right? But it's later on, right? Like kind of like when he finally fought Charlo, right? Even though the idea that Canelo doesn't fight black fighters is ridiculous. We've already shredded that concept to pieces, okay? Nobody has a better resume of black opponents than Canelo Alvarez, right? It's not even close, okay? But that aside, right? If you think about it, like we got that people are saying, oh, it's a little late, or he was 2 weight classes down. It's like, well, what did you want? I mean, you wanted him to fight one of these Charlos. Those are the only black guys left, right? And so he's facing Jaime Munguia, but people are saying, oh, well, you need to face Benavidez right now. So I understand that it might leave a bad taste in people's mouth, but I also think that Jaime Munguia is extremely marketable, okay? He outsold David Benavidez in Phoenix, okay? I mean, that's all you need to know. He's been around for a while. He's got that Mexican crowd. I think he's very likable. I think part of it is the respect that he's shown Canelo. I think that's part of the reason that he got this fight. You know, and I understand this concept where people go, well, hey, you know, people can talk shit. This is boxing, you know. I understand that, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I also think this is a business, you know. And if Canelo just doesn't like the way the Benavidez camp is talking and goes, fuck you, I'm not about to make you a fucking, what? Just fucking like almost what? A lot of money, more money than you've ever made? Like for what? You know, like talking all that shit. Like, nah, I'm good. You know, like if he felt that way and said, fuck these guys because of how disrespectful they are and how much shit they talk, that's Canelo's right, in my opinion. This idea that Canelo might be ducking somebody is crazy. Like, Canelo's always faced opponents throughout the years that we wanted him to face. Benavidez is just that next guy, really, you know? And he hasn't proven that he's going to be like this all-time great or anything. I think he could be something good, but I mean, that remains to be seen. So if Canelo is making these high-profile money fights, well, this is a great fight to make, and I do think that this fight is being made at the right time.
Yeah, I know exactly. I do remember that show. Actually, you know, I remember we're talking. Who's Canelo gonna pass the torch to? I can't remember who I said, but I remember, you know, my opinions about Jaime Munguia. And I still remember him now. And I'm not gonna say I wasn't a fan, but I was more of like, all right, you know, you know, he's got 30 fights, he's got 40 fights. Like, okay, what's gonna happen? Like, let's see it. Like, but then again, when you're watching him, you're like, okay, maybe he's not quite ready, but you understand that they are trying to you know, to grow him or to get him prepped and get him ready to see where he's really at. I mean, he had opportunities, right? They said he had that opportunity with Charlo, he had the opportunity with Triple G, he had the opportunity with Andrade. Um, and those would have been the fights that would have, you know, would have. He was already popular, like you said. You know, when in Phoenix, he outdid Benavidez in his own hometown. I wasn't there at that fight, but you guys were there, and I could see it on TV. You can hear the people going crazy. Like, he's really loved. So I understood from that standpoint of, okay, maybe he's not. Maybe, you know, Oscar's trying to protect his assets. He doesn't have too many fighters at Golden Boy at the time. I think Canelo was already gone. He had Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia was pretty popular, of course, but he didn't have the boxing accolades quite yet. And Munguia is another pretty good name there at Golden Boy. So I understood what was going on. I understand the business aspect of it, and I'm also, of course, a fan of boxing. And I really wish boxing wasn't ran on business, but at the end of the day, like, that's pretty much what runs, right? Is the money, the business. And at the time before LLC came aboard, you've had pretty much everybody kind of sticking to their own you know, their own stable, other than you know, Top Rank. You'd have them, you know, go in between the zone and Matchroom. So, and now things are different, and I see it. Like, I do appreciate this fight. At first, of course, you know, without thinking, and that's my problem as a human, aside from boxing, is I react before I think about sometimes the things I say or do that could get me into trouble. I get it, and I'm learning from that. You know, I'm a grown ass man. I get it in life now, but um, yeah, when you really step back and look at it, it really is a good fight. It really is solid. The undercard is, at first when it was made, I wasn't thrilled about it, but then when you sometimes you got to put the name, you got to put the faces to the names, and when you see the names with the faces, to me, it made the card better. And then with the hit, and you know, you do a little research on the fights that are there. You understand it is a pretty decent all around card. Like, if I could give it a gray level, I'll give it like a C plus B minus. Like, you know, um, and especially with how the other cards have been going, and other, you know, again with LL Sheik. But this is still pretty much an Amazon PBC. Like, Canelo is demanding what he was promised, is 35 million per fight. He left for a little while, came back, and I'm sure he got what he's promised, because now you have a co-pro now, a co-promo with Golden Boy, and I'm sure that he wasn't too thrilled about it. I mean, we saw at the press conference, him and Oscar going back and forth. Nobody knows exactly what it is. I love it. I'm not for Canelo side. I'm not for Oscar side. Again, you know, it's, you wait till the facts come out, and then we can go ahead and decide, you know, who's wrong or who's right. But I sit back and laugh. I'm enjoying it. We're all enjoying the shit talking. And if I had to give somebody round one, I definitely gave it to Saul Canelo. Like, he fucking shit on him, man. That was hilarious. And it was funny at first, Oscar coming out. You could tell it was something was gonna happen. It was bound to happen. It happened at the final press conference. He said, "Put some fucking respect on my name." And that got Canelo triggered. And we see, like, when he's up there, he's calm, he's cool, he's very respective. And you saw what happened with Caleb Plant. He called him a motherfucker. It was lost in the translation. He didn't know what that meant. It was just a figure of speech, like, you motherfucker. He didn't mean it like, hey, you're a motherfucker or a fucker of mothers. And that's the way he took it. Got slapped. And same thing here. Like, he, you know, he stood on his stood for what was right. He shut down Oscar De La Hoya's allegations. And now Oscar De La Hoya's got a fucking something going against him where he doesn't, defamation of character, whatever it is. But it's funny shit. And before we do get a little further on into this, like, what are your thoughts for quick Chicano on all the Oscar De La Hoya and Saul Canelo Alvarez shit?
I thought it was great, man. Maybe I should have seen it coming, but I was not thinking that he would go like that. Like, I thought it was so funny how he tried to bring up Canelo's 2 failed drug tests. Like, the way he connected it was totally like a reach. Like, oh, well, you know, he's Munguia is finally going to get a shot at the title, but because he couldn't get it when Canelo failed 2 drug tests against Golovkin. Like just total bull. I thought that was funny to see. But on top of that, he has been a champion already, and that was 160 pounds. Plus, Munguia hasn't really gone for the smoke, for title fights, really. So I mean, I think it was kind of a stretch, but as far as Oscar De La Hoya being a little salty, I get it. Some of it might be head games. I do think he's bitter. D-Style made a great point, which I agree with. It was like, well, Canelo was the one guy that stuck around when Oscar was asleep at the wheel, right? All these dudes didn't have contracts and they left the PBC. One of the only guys who stayed, and probably the most important guy to stay, was Canelo, because he said, I'm a loyal person, okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if Canelo's out there telling everybody, like, dude, this guy skimmed some money off the top, and it wasn't like I was owed more, right? And it sounds to me, and he got out of his contract, right? And Gennady Golovkin did sue Oscar, right? So I don't think it's just like outlandish lies. I think they're real. You know what I mean? So I do think that Oscar and Canelo have a legitimate beef, but I think Oscar needs to let it go. Like Canelo, and he made another good point in Spanish. He says, you never, you've always made money off my name, not the other way around. Like you've always paid me what I've been worth. I've never lost you money, and I think that's the truth. I started watching Oscar really early, or I mean Canelo. I think we all did, right? I mean, when you saw, when's the first time you saw him? Like for the Jose Cotto fight?
Yeah, it was definitely the Jose Cotto fight. It might have been a fight before that. Like, I can't remember which one, but I remember that was kind of the introduction already of Canelo. But I already had heard of him because I got family in Mexico. I got um the boxing. I love boxing, so I've heard of the name. And then once, because he was obviously mentioned for a possible fight with Mayweather, right? At the like immediately,
Right, because at the
as soon
time
as
I
he
was
was
like, "Who the
entered
hell
in.
is this guy?" Right, I
Yeah.
never even heard of him, and that's why I started paying attention. Right, but dude, okay, so I started following him right there. But dude, Canelo started generating money very quickly. He was headlining cards or being on the undercard of real notable fights. Like it was obvious
Exactly.
that this guy was. There was steam building right away from him, and I think boxing in general was in a better place where and boxing was more accessible, less platform based. It was just a different time. I mean, shit. It's crazy to think about it now because like we're old now, Georgie. You know what I mean? But we saw Canelo back when we were in our 20s and shit. Like, that's a long time.
It's a long time ago. It does feel like it was yesterday, but goddamn, bro, that is a long time ago, man. I'm 41. Chicano, I know you're right behind me.
I'm pushing 40. I like to
Oh,
say
see,
that.
you're right
Pushing
behind
40.
me.
Yeah. But Canelo, he's been around for a long time, man. So I think Canelo deserves his respect too. And I think Oscar, I don't know. I've always been an Oscar fan in general, but I mean, I think the way he conducts himself is a little embarrassing. But then again, it made this promotion interesting. Then it's kind of like, De La Hoya is a new rooster against his old rooster, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. It's beef. It's legit beef, and it's head games too, right? Like, as much as Canelo has that many fights, like Oscar's been around that long as well. Like he understands like the head games, and that's big, right? They say boxing is mainly mental, like, and if you believe that, Canelo's reaction, or what Oscar said made a reaction out of Canelo get to his head. If that's what you're seeing from the outside, that's what it looks like from the outside. But Canelo's been around a long time, so he understands it's head games. And he pulled his little head game on Munguia as well. Like he's there's respect, which is awesome. Everybody was making a thing out of when he put his hand on his shoulder, like, oh, okay, little brother, like, welcome to the big leagues. Here I'm gonna throw you a couple underhands, and then I'm gonna throw you some fastballs. So be ready for these fastballs that are coming at you. Like I did with my little brothers. So I understood that, like, he's kind of bringing them to like, look at this is what's gonna happen, and be ready for it. And there's respect, right? There's respect on both sides, and Munguia kind of in the middle. He already said he's that's between them. My worry is the fight. Yeah, we have respect outside of the ring, but once the bell goes off in his ring and we're inside the ring, like, all respects go out, and he's just like another enemy or an opponent. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Usually when I do like these previews or like these predictions, I try to go off the last couple fights. With Canelo Alvarez, you could say his last two fights were Ryder and Charlo. And the Ryder fight was pretty much the fight after his surgery. And I expected him to get him out. He could have gotten him out a couple times, but that goes to show how tough John Ryder is, the gorilla, and he looks like a damn gorilla. He's tough as shit. He's had some really good notable fights. Daniel Jacobs, Smith, Joe Saunders. Out of those three fights, out of Ryder, you could say those were pretty close to being a controversial, right? You could say that in the Smith fight and the Saunders, he won those. If you go back and rewatch them, like I've given those nods to Ryder, and then in the Daniel Jacobs, which was a really close fight, I picked John Ryder to win, but I feel like it was 50-50. People thought Jacobs won, some people thought Ryder won. Um, to me, I feel like that fight could have been a draw. So I wasn't really too sure exactly who I thought won that fight. And then he had the Zach Parker fight where it didn't really go far, but he started to turn the tide. And then Parker got his hand hurt, and that pretty much was the fight. But in that fight with Canelo, it was a pretty tough fight. He did beat the shit out of John Ryder. Um, when I looked at it, I watched it again not too long ago because I know these fights are getting made. Um, he was tagging the shit out of him. Yes, he had a bloody nose. So it made it look way worse. And he was beating him up all over the round, all over the ring. But I feel like again, um, a couple years ago, Canelo, before the injuries, before the Bivol, I think we could have seen. I think we could have seen him get him out of there. And I believe just a little bit, like a little bit, a part of me does believe that he's he knows and he probably feels that he's getting close to there because his punch output is a little bit lower. And he's I think if he knew he had a little more gas in the tank, like he could have gotten Ryder out of there. And then in the Jermell Charlo fight, like dude, he looked in shape, he looked ripped, he looked ready, and he wanted to prove the doubters wrong. That look, I'm not on the decline. Like I have no injuries. Like this is me. And he showed it. But if I do give a little back, if I push back a little bit on it, we didn't see no resistance from Charlo. So all we saw was Canelo move forward. Everything was at his pace. How would it have looked if he had somebody throwing back at him a little bit? But here we are with this fight with the Munguia. Oh, and then I'm sorry. Let me kind of break down Munguia. Like Munguia's Deverenchenko fight. Like everybody talks about, that was possible fight of the year last year. And he doesn't get this knockdown in the last round, he possibly loses. But I think styles make fights, and I believe this style is tailor made for both guys, right? Like Canelo's not going to come forward the way Deverenchenko did. So Deverenchenko was more of a come forward fighter. He's not quite a counter fighter. Picks his spots, makes encounters, fights off the back foot. He comes forward, and it was a slugfest between Munguia and Deverenchenko. So I think this fight, when it comes to styles, I think it fits good for both guys. But experience to me plays the part. So that fight with Munguia again, the Deverenchenko, showed he's got the heart. He's willing to mix it up. He has no quit in him. He was rocked a couple times, and that was his last fight with Morales, right, as his trainer. Enter the John Ryder fight. It's his first fight with Freddie Roach, and you've seen in one fight, to me, you've seen the improvements. And I think what happens with a lot of fighters when they change trainers, I think these trainers try to completely change their style, and I think that's where it goes wrong. I think Roach is a good fit for Munguia because he's an offensive type of coach. He makes your offense your defense. And you saw that he didn't really do too much defense wise because he did get hit with the same left hand that Ryder was hitting him with. But his offense was enough to almost make it his defense because Ryder wasn't really throwing nothing back. And again, it was Canelo softening up Ryder for the taking. And Munguia came in. He took it. It was perfect. Took advantage of it. But this is gonna be a tough fight. I know. I was watching D Styles this week, and he's like, fuck the bullshit. No need to like, oh, this is gonna be a great fight. Like he's picking Canelo to knock him the fuck out. Like he's expecting a spectacular showcase from Canelo. And I think that's what everybody's hoping to see, right? Like everybody's hoping to see that because we really didn't see that late. We haven't seen that lately. His last knockout was against Caleb Plant. We want to see the knockout. But I believe this is gonna be a good fight. I'm not gonna sit here and be like Canelo's gonna knock him the fuck out. He can knock him out. I believe he does have the power to hurt him, and I do believe that Munguia's come forward style will present opportunities for Canelo to hit to hit him in between those shots. Because Canelo's a great counter fighter, and he's good with them body shots. But if I have to get my prediction and what I think this will go 12. I don't know if I see any knockouts. I think Munguia will fight in spots. He will pick his opportunities right. He does got a good coach in his corner. He does have Roach, and I think everybody's expecting Munguia to just come forward, like no defense, just you know, have opportunities for Canelo to land those shots. So in my mind, I really don't know how this is really going to play out, and I hate that I'm not like aggressive on picking like the winner or be animated on it. But when I look at it from my eyes, like I try to be down the middle. I think that it will be a good fight. I wouldn't be surprised if Munguia does win, but I'm not picking Munguia to win. Like I'm picking Canelo to win this in a close unanimous. And in the chat, and I think Nopal or may have been you Chicano asked me like who I'm going for. I don't know who I'm going for. Honestly, to tell you the truth, from the day you guys sat that in the group chat up until now, I still don't know who I'm going for. Like I just want to see a good fight. That's it. Like I'm being down the middle. If Munguia has his moments, I'm gonna cheer it. If Canelo has his moments, I'm gonna cheer it on. But at the end of the day, like I just want to see a good fight. And who I'm picking Canelo to win a close unanimous decision.
Nice, man. Well, I see a lot of what you see, and I have a lot of the same considerations you do. So what I'd like to add to that too is when I look at the stylistic matchup between Jaime Munguia and Canelo Alvarez, man, it is going to be a great fight. It's going to be fan friendly. I watched a few fights to see how I thought the fight would go, right? So I ended up watching the Jermell Charlo fight with Canelo, and then I also watched this Callum Smith fight. And Jaime Munguia, I watched the Derevyanchenko fight, as well as his John Ryder fight, just to kind of see what I could glean from them. Now, yes, Munguia has improved, and there's a lot of things that I really like about Munguia. I talked about his fan-friendly style, and he has improved. I think he's got good head movement. I love his combination punching, right? I love that he's willing to get in there and mix it up, right? He's got one hell of a chin. I also really like that he's on his toes a lot. It's like you hardly ever see that with boxers anymore. Oscar used to be like the last great to do it, being light on your feet, right? I mean, like it's just something you don't see anymore. And he's doing this at 168. I think he's got a very impressive skill set, and I think he's a legitimate top 568 pounder. Now, when I went to watch Canelo, I watched the Jermell Charlo fight first. Now, I haven't seen that fight since it was live, okay? And I remember everybody talking about how that was such a boring fight and a stinker. It was kind of a stinker. It wasn't as bad as I remembered. I think everybody just had like high expectations for that fight. Plus, Jermell was clinching a lot, right? He was clinching a lot. But one of the things I noticed is, and this is like, I've watched a lot of Canelo fights. I've analyzed his fight style. One of the things about Canelo is I've always thought like, well, I wish, he would utilize his right hand more. I feel like his left, which is great, right? He's got a great left hand, but I wish he would utilize his right more. But man, he was using his right hand like crazy in the Jermell Charlo fight. And it surprised me because I didn't really pick that up. And he was hardly utilizing his left hand. He was using the overhand right a lot. Not that he didn't use it, don't get me wrong, and he also wasn't going to the body that much. But I also think a part of it was because Jermell was he had like just really good instincts with like, and reflexes. Like he would do a lot of blocking and a lot of moving on the back foot and a lot of boxing on the back foot. Right. So I think when I analyze that fight, to me, when I look at Canelo, I realized that he did not use his left hand that much the way he utilizes it like he did in previous fights. Now, I do think, and his left hand was the one that was injured, I think that there's a chance in that Jermell Charlo fight that he took it to the cards by decision, and he's like, well, I'm not going to risk this left hand and damage it if I don't have to. Like, I think he's at that point where, save your hands a bit if you can. There's no need to really just crack this dude like crazy. That's where I think he's at with his punching power.
That's a great observation, man. I've never really looked at it that way. I mean, it could answer like, again, people are like, well, where's the killer instinct? He should have, right? Like, I mean, I was one like, he should have been able to get him out of there if this was a couple years ago, but he's saving his hands. He knows he has a fight won, like, and hey, man, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, shit, he wants to have this longevity. He says he has about 3 to 5 more fights left, and there's plenty of fights for that to be made. And that's a great observation. I never looked at it like that, Chicano.
Thanks. Because, it could give him an extra few fights. And now, like, when I see Deontay Wilder, man, sometimes he's grimacing when he's holding his hand up. Like, and I think, oh, man, this guy, once the hand goes, it's over. I mean, that's all he's really got, but that's because he's got to land that moneymaker, right? But if Canelo can outbox you, right, and not necessarily crack his hands on you and still win, well, that's great. But he said in his at the weigh-in, like, hey, I'm at 100% right now, okay? And if he is at 100%, that means he's going to utilize his left hand, because in my opinion, his left hand is, even though he's right-handed, like his left hand is excellent, and he wasn't even really utilizing it that much against Jermell Charlo. So if that left hand is back to any semblance of what it used to be, well, then Munguia is going to be in for it, right? I talked about what I like with Munguia, but there's a lot of things that he's good at doing when it suits him. Okay, what I'm trying to say is Jaime Munguia has a really nice rhythm going when he gets it going, but it could be disrupted. I think it was disrupted versus the Deveryunchenko fight, and I think his structure can go out the window. Like, he likes to set his distance. He likes to kind of move around on the back foot. I wouldn't call him a back foot boxer, right? And even if he was, Canelo's faced back foot boxers like Jermell, Plant, Saunders, right? I mean, it's nothing he hasn't seen, right? And Munguia can kind of move around on the back foot, but he has to plant and sit and shoot, and then it's all pretty fast, right? But he's not, I wouldn't call him like a back foot boxer. He can move around to get, to reestablish the pocket and come in. I do think he's got a really good work rate. And the one thing too is, like, I don't think Munguia's used to just having to negotiate who's going to be on the front foot or back foot. And I think that Canelo is going to be dominating on the front foot. He's going to establish his front foot dominance. He's been doing that for a long time. Don't get me wrong. If Munguia mounts an offense, yeah, sure, Canelo might hop back just a little bit or move back a little bit. That's all. But I do think that Canelo is going to be the one forcing the action. And then what would that make Munguia do? Like, if this guy's not really moving backwards that much and you're not really much of a backwards boxer, does that mean you're going to get to it? Or does that mean you're going to dance around a lot? I think it's possible he might dance around a lot more than we're expecting. Also, I think that Munguia is vulnerable to the body. Now, I went back and watched some fights. His rhythm is really disrupted. When he gets tagged to the body, like, I wouldn't say he gets hurt, but you could tell his rhythm is all messed up. Like, whenever he gets rocked to the body, I've never seen him give a sharp, quick counter attack right away. He always has to reset a little bit or throw something or kind of reset, and then do what he does. Like, if you tag him to the body, he's not answering right away. That's a pattern I noticed. And on top of that too, Deveryunchenko had very, very good success early on against Jaime Munguia with the body attack. And he he didn't completely abandon it, but like, once he just started hitting Munguia flush, and Munguia has got a great chin, right? And it's a target, and it's an easy target. So I think it's kind of like a big ass head decoy, right? So all of a sudden you kind of forget about this dude's body because you're rocking him, right? But he's not going anywhere. So I understand why people target the head, but I think people forget about Munguia's body. Now, Canelo is not going to make that mistake. He's going to be ripping Munguia to the body. Now, I do think there's a chance that Munguia might have slightly faster hand speed, and he's going to have a high activity rate, and he does have a good chin, right? But his tempo is going to be all messed up. He's not going to be able to have the fight that he wants. On top of that, he's going to get rocked to the body. I think his rhythm is going to be thrown off fairly early in this fight. I also think that his activity will just decrease simply because of the possible counter punches that will come back. That's what I'm expecting. On top of that too, with this new version of Canelo, and I've seen this, like, I think I kind of saw this starting like in, I don't know, it was maybe around the Bivol fight. Like, Canelo's okay with letting you clinch him. Like, sometimes if he's got you and he really wants to hurt you some more, like, he'll kind of back you off, right? But he's okay with being held and letting the ref break it up. Like, he's an older guy. And Munguia, he clinches actually more than you think, man. If you watch some of those fights, like even against Ryder, he was clinching every once in a while. Like, he tries to get a break, and he's a lazy clincher too. So I think we might see some mutually lazy clinches here in this fight. And I think that's going to benefit the older guy. I think it's going to benefit Canelo. So ultimately what I see is I see I'm kind of like you, George. Like, I mean, it's hard to really call it. I do see Canelo winning this fight. I do think that the left hand is going to be back in business. I think it's going to be a body thing. I either see a late round stoppage or Canelo going to the cards. And if it goes to the cards, I could see Munguia winning the last maybe couple rounds, kind of like Ryder did. Like, out of the last 3 rounds, maybe you could give Munguia like two or three, something like that. But I think that we're going to see low activity early on. Canelo's going to feel up Munguia. Munguia is not going to go in there and rush Canelo. That's not going to happen, right? So I think the middle rounds are going to be interesting. I think Canelo is going to be dominant mostly through all that, and then at the very end, it's either going to end at Canelo because by body shot stoppage or something that's set up by the body, or it's going to go to Canelo by cards. You're on mute, homie.
Yeah, man, it's good points that you brought up, because yeah, I see some of those things as well that I never really noticed, like the holding with both guys, or the Munguia really not taking body shots that well. And like, this is the guy you don't want to not be able to react or take body shots well from in this Canelo. And shit, the right hand, it's kind of, I feel like these boxers do kind of listen to what, not just us, but just people say in general. I'm sure that's probably one of the things that was brought up is the right hand, because he is pretty much left hand dominant. And that's where his power shot is. Like, right, the left hook to the body, left hook to the top. Um, so I could definitely see that. I could see right hand and left hands and left hands to the body. I feel like if it does happen where it is a stoppage, it's going to definitely come from a body shot. And the head decoy thing, that makes a lot of sense to me. Like, it kind of gives other fighters kind of like a false sense of hope, right? Like, okay, like I'm hitting them, but Munguia is tough enough, and his chin is good enough to where he could take those shots and return them. And when he does return them, they kind of back off a little bit. It kind of goes back to being pretty neutral. But I think I think differently is I think Munguia might try to take these early rounds or try to come off a little bit aggressive, knowing that Canelo does kind of give up those last couple rounds, maybe either by point or to try to slow the pace down, or try to make it at his pace. But like, this is the experience thing, and the experience for me is big, right? Like, Canelo's has the way more experience, even though he's like 20 less fights than him. But what it comes down to is the competition and who you've been fighting in those 40 fights or those 60 fights, and he's seen it all. But man, I am really looking forward to this fight. Hopefully Julian can give us his prediction, but we already know who he knows. Or pretty much we all know who's gonna win in that group chat. But yeah, man, it's gonna be a good fight. I think with not the antics, but with the Oscar De La Hoya thing in the press conference, I feel like that sold the fight a little bit more. It made it more interesting. You have, because if you see it, like, we all watch other people's YouTube channels, and when they bring up that topic, I like to read the comments like everybody else, and you see like most of everybody's on Canelo's side, and then you have some people that are on Oscar's side, like especially like the older guys that were big Oscar De La Hoya fans were pretty much on Oscar's side, and it kind of it almost becomes like Oscar versus Canelo without being in the ring, right? Because we've never really heard Canelo say he's gonna knock somebody out or give us a prediction on what round he's gonna stop him in. I feel like Munguia might be the guy he's gonna take this anger out on, to kind of show, hey, look at, your guy's not ready. I am who I am. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a good fight. It's gonna be a good night. I'm excited, and I'm sure you're excited, Chicano. But I guess last topic really quick. We don't have to really get too much into this. And your thoughts on everything that's happened from before the drug testing came out. What are your thoughts, man? Like, what was going through your mind in that first round immediately when you saw Devin Haney get hurt to the very end?
Well, I'll tell you this, dude. I was rooting for Devin Haney before the fight started, but as soon as that left hook landed, I think the Raza in me kicked in, and I was cheering. And my girlfriend's like, "What are you doing?" Like, I thought we were rooting for Haney. I was like, I don't know what happened, and then I was rooting for Ryan Garcia afterwards. But I do like seeing upsets. I like seeing power. This whole, like, Georgina, I know you feel different. I know you're like a pure boxer fan. But I like the chingazos, man. So what's up, G Funky? But so I find myself being pretty. I was happy with the result, right? Although I found it kind of shocking. Like, the fight frustrated me in certain ways, man. I was watching the fight, and I'm frustrated because, like, I felt like even though Ryan Garcia was putting it to Devin Haney, like I felt like he could have finished him off at certain times, or like there was times where he just wasn't engaging. And I'm like, man, if you'd given a little bit more time or stuck there or didn't smother your work, like I was just getting frustrated with like his inability to finish or willingness to finish. I'm not sure what it was, right? And then Ryan got the decision. The fallout was fascinating, man. Like, because I didn't really have a dog in the race. Like, I don't really care for Haney. I really don't care for Ryan Garcia. I've never been a fan of his. Like, I don't think many Mexicans in this space really root for Ryan. So, like, we were just kind of like watching, Also, and this, like, I thought Ryan Garcia didn't deserve a title shot, right? I thought he doesn't deserve this fight. He's marketable. That's why they're making this fight, but he doesn't deserve a title shot at 140. But everybody gets a title shot these days whenever, right? So I found myself being a little surprised with the outcome. But if you're asking me like about before the fight as well, like the extra pounds, okay, now The extra pounds to me was pretty interesting, bro. Because like at the time, I thought it was kind of like a Chavez Jr. like versus Jacobs kind of thing, where it's like, oh, this guy's because he's lazy that he's not making weight. Like Chavez Jr. didn't do it for an advantage, right? We kind of thought like, oh, well, he's just a fucko who's not taking this fight seriously. So Jacob said, okay, let's do it. Like that's kind of how I viewed this. You know, in hindsight, everybody's like, oh, it was the 2-pound advantage, or you know, he came in at 170, 180, or whatever. You know, I'm hearing all kinds of crazy shit, right? But at the time, like everybody thought the fight should go forward. In fact, the odds got wider after the weigh-in. Okay, so I mean, hindsight's 2020, but nobody thought, oh, this is a strategic move. The other thing is, like, to me, you know, I think there's a chance that like this could have easily had not worked out this way. Like, it all looks like Ryan was a genius because it worked out in his favor, but it could have not worked out that way. He could have got outboxed, and nobody would be saying anything. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, but it did work out for Ryan, and then the fallout was fascinating. You know, there was a lot of people out there crying. I was hearing the tears. A lot of people were just rubbing it in, you know, just rubbing it in. I kind of got it. I was actually enjoying it myself, you know, and then we get this positive drug test. Okay. Now, I'm not really like a drug test type of guy. Like, I don't know much about this stuff. You know, I know Rum PMC is our resident pharmacist. You know, he knows about all this stuff. But I mean, and I think Julian said that it's the equivalent of a prime energy drink. I don't know about that one. But dude, yeah, you know, I think it's a shame. But I understand the conspiracies, like, because I'm a conspiracy theorist guy, right? I'm not saying I believe them, but I mean, it all plays into what Ryan's been doing. Like, Ryan's been a conspiracy nut, talking all kinds of shit. And you know what? I've never cared for Victor Conte, so he's kind of like narrating the story, and at the end of the day, he's acting like he don't give a shit about the result anyways. Like, and I still beat his ass, you know?
Yeah, he's almost looking like a genius right now.
Yeah, you know, it's like he's like in complete troll mode, and like nothing phases him. It's pretty interesting. You know what I mean? So on top of that too, man, like I don't know, like Haney has new life, his fans have new life. But people are going like, well, this, you know, and the Haney fans are getting upset because, and I've heard this, people are out there saying like, well, you know, it wouldn't have mattered anyways. You know, our homie Drew Evo saying that, like, oh, it wouldn't have mattered. It's like, well, I mean, if weight didn't matter, then they wouldn't have weight classes, right? And agreed weights to come in on. If the PEDs didn't matter, you know, then there would be a free fall. Like, all that stuff does matter to me. I think it should be rolled a no contest. Do I think the fight could have played out differently? I think on any given night, this fight could have played out differently. I do think that Ryan did mail it in to some extent. I think there could have been a better version of Ryan, but this version beat Haney. But I got a lot of mixed feelings about it, but no real strong feelings about it. I'm just kind of an observer. Yeah. You know what I mean? What do you think, Georgie?
Yeah, no, pretty fair, man. I am too. Like, I'm sitting back observing this. Like, the conspiracy theory brain part of my brain is all for it. It made me go down about those rabbit holes again, and I'm like, all right, this is fucking crazy. And now I know why I stopped, because it does take up most of your fucking time. And but he's pretty much telling us everything that we already knew. There's nothing new or different from when it comes to the conspiracy thing, like the Bohemian Grove, the pedophile rings. Those are pretty much like the two big topics. And then he went on to say he was kidnapped, he was molested as a kid, tied to a tree. It got crazy. And of course, pre-fight stuff, it's like, is he trolling? I mean, what he's telling us, and now I feel like there's more conspiracy theorists than there was 10 years ago. So, you know, it's like he's playing into every type of fan, or every type of category of person, right? He did that. He did the LGBT thing, saying, "Oh, he slapped me. I feel I'm a woman. He's hitting women, this and that." So it's like he's playing every single card that he can find in his back pocket, and I feel like it pretty much works. Again, like, he's almost looking like a genius. And I guess I'll say, like, the 3-pound thing, I was agreed on it too. I'm like, this is bullshit. He's not fucking taking this shit serious. Like, I feel even more confident that Devin Haney is gonna make him pay. He's gonna hurt him. If he's not making weight, he's obviously not taking it that serious. So he's probably a little bit, you know, not conditioned. And then it comes out, I don't know if you saw this, but the strength and conditioning coach was on the Boxing Voice and said that at the very beginning of this, he was contracted to make Ryan Garcia make 143 pounds. So that was already the edge, right? He's obviously going to take that, and this was the plan all along. And he was perfectly fine with paying the $500K per pound, which came out to 1.5. And then you're hearing that he actually just paid 600,000. So he already knew, and he bet on himself. He fucking made out big. So there was a lot of those things where, um, you're like, well, damn, he played the smart, whatever. Um, he did what he had to do. He got the win. Nobody expected us to win. Again, I'm not really too much of a Ryan Garcia fan. Devin Haney, it's unfortunate, but his dad makes you want to hate him or not root for him because of his dad's antics. So hold on, let me see if Nopal wants to come on real quick.
Nopal.
Nopal, he
Well,
probably just
if he
listening.
gets
Yeah.
off the mic, this dude's a huge conspiracy theorist, so we might go down the rabbit
Oh
hole.
shit! I better go pack a lunch really quick because I'm getting hungry here.
Your shit might
Uh,
get flagged for real.
yeah. So I mean, if you look at it that way, he paid his dues right before the PED thing. He paid his dues. Just said, "Fuck it, I'll pay the fine." Um, and it played perfect for him because if anybody knows boxing or knows what it's like to lose weight, like wrestlers, boxers, those one even that 1 pound, you're 1 pound away is difficult. That's why you see sometimes not just this fight and other fights in particular, some guys struggle to shed that point 0.8 pounds or 1 pound or a pound and a half, and they're not able to do it. So I was like, well, fuck it. He said 3 pounds, he's gonna pay his fine. And it showed, it played into his favor. First round, I mean, that left hook, as soon as he landed, I'm like, damn, this is it. Like typically sometimes you see a guy get hurt and he recovers pretty quick, but he did not recover at all one bit. And I'm like, this is gonna be a long fight for Devin Haney. And then I watched the first 5 rounds. I replayed the first 5 rounds, and he obviously had the wrong game plan, right? Like he thought he could go out there and hurt him, and Ryan Garcia baited him perfectly. And if you watch it, he landed the same feint with the jab, made Devin Haney's right hand drop and caught him with the left hook pretty much every single time.
I don't mean to interrupt you. That's the other thing that bugged me too, because even Derek James was telling him set up your shots, and every time Ryan Garcia would set him up, dude, Haney would get his ass on the floor. So I'm like, keep setting it up. You know what I mean? The hell? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man, and that goes to show the inexperience, of course, of Ryan Garcia, right? Like he had him ready to go, but Devin Haney was holding on for dear life. But I think okay, so before I say anything, like that was the reason why I was going for Devin Haney, because on paper, the previous fights we watched, he checked all the boxes except, of course, the chin and the power. But I thought his ability and ring IQ would have been enough to beat Ryan Garcia. He was. I thought he would have been smart enough not to get hit with the same shot, which he didn't. So his IQ and his defense and his chin, of course, were huge in why he lost this fight. I'm glad I didn't put no money on this. I was down to my last $20. I was gonna get, I almost put $5 just on it because it was huge. I think it was like 100 plus or 20 plus for Ryan Garcia to win a decision. But I was like, I think I needed gas money more than losing these extra $5, so I didn't do it.
I lost some serious money, and I had a couple
Oh
of
shit!
parlays that broke. It's okay, everybody thought Haney was gonna win. I thought Haney was gonna win, dude. Like everybody thought Haney was gonna win. I don't know. I don't think I recall anybody picking Garcia. Everybody thought this was like a foregone conclusion that Haney was just too crisp, and Ryan wasn't taking this fight seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge, right? I mean, we didn't know where his mental was, and then we get this PED thing. Not even pretty much not even like a week later or about a week later, going on with all this, and I just saw yesterday. Are you familiar with Sean Zeitel?
No.
He's like boxing hype. Like he was with the Sean Porter podcast. I actually heard it this morning, while I was getting ready, getting my coffee and stuff, because he brought up that.
Oh, is he that dude with that weird hair that goes like
Yeah,
to the side?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
he's now saying that he has a source or someone from somewhere from the New York State Commission that this is a second possible drug, and it was like androgel or something like that. Like
Nandrolone, I think.
Nandrolone. There you go.
Yeah.
See, thank you, no problem. So there's a possibility of a second, and we don't know, man. I really don't know what to take. I really don't know what to think of it. If he's clean, like again, Saturday night when it happened, like I gave him all the props. I was like, well, damn, let's hope that he can capitalize on this. Still doesn't make me a Ryan fan, but like, I don't wish bad upon anybody.
George,
did you guys notice the frequency of the drug tests are like 15 days apart? It seems like, because they're showing when they were drug tested. And
yeah, it's true.
So, a lot of people say that, he he popped 30 of the last 2 tests, right? But that's still 15 days apart from the previous ones, you know? I wanted to mention that. But as far as everything else, I know you didn't ask, but I don't know. I'm falling into the conspiracies basically that, you know, he was cheated. I mean,
Who was cheated?
that he was cheated, Ryan Garcia, you know, it's crazy, bro. You know, this dynamic is fucking awesome, bro. You mentioned it, Chicano, how the dude's all up in everybody's faces telling him that he's been cheated. Like nothing phases this guy. I mean,
Right.
either this is part of the plan and they had him take acting classes, but I've never seen somebody look straight into the camera that way and just tell everybody that he's been cheated. And you know, there is some weird conspiracies floating around. I know that you know, the big forces, they wanted him to visit Israel, and I guess he didn't get there fast enough, you know, to
Oh
show his
shit.
support and kiss the wall over there. So, you know, that's one of the leading conspiracies right now that's floating around, is that he didn't show his allegiance to
Oh
certain
shit.
people. And there's many more, you know, Victor Conte being part of Vada, which none of us know if it's true. We know that he's super involved with them, but as
Yeah,
far as working with them, I don't know.
that's true.
There's some crazy conspiracies, and you never get a guy like I said. Either he went to acting classes or something, and he's he's kind of meditating on something, and you know he knows how to lie. But I mean, one thing that you can say though is here's crazy how even if he did test dirty and he did do steroids, the amazing part of this whole thing is nobody gives a damn. They like the kid so much that they're letting him slide, bro.
Yeah,
Which
we're in
is
a weird era.
It is.
way different from you know, when other people pop, they absolutely hate the people. I mean, that pop or whatever. Like when Canelo popped for something that was like, it's like whatever, dude. It wasn't strong enough to make any difference. You know, there was facts that you would be able to easily let it slide, but I mean, you had Canelo over there even crying in front of everybody. People, they didn't feel sorry for him at all, bro. They wanted him crucified.
Yeah.
But now you got a guy that everybody likes. They don't even care. They hate. At this point, it seems like they hate Kevin Devin so much that, you know, whether he popped dirty or not, they're letting him slide, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. It's turned around. Like there's so much more hate for Devin. And yeah, he does talk his shit, but I think it's more like on the dad. Like if you see other channels, I know, like you know, I do watch Coach Malachi for the entertainment. I don't know if you guys know, but there was like this beef where like, he felt like he was set up with the whole LDBC guys and all that shit. Like
Oh,
he was
don't get me
beefing with
started.
them.
I would love to get into it if you want to.
Let's go for it, man. Come on, bro. We got to
All right,
talk
break it
about
down,
shit.
Georgie, unless you want me to
Oh,
break down what happened.
Yeah, you
Make
go
this
ahead.
shit exciting, man.
Okay, all right. Well, let's talk about it. You know, these are three impartial Mexicans. We can talk about who took the L in the elevator. And if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, right? Long story short, Coach Malachi shows up to the Haney versus Ryan Garcia fight. And you know him. He's always asking, like, where the Wakanda's at? You know, these guys don't do nothing. They're a bunch of internet gangsters, okay? Now, the LDBC is in town, right? Drew Titan's looking for this little homie, okay? And 78 gets wind, right? Where you go? I was like, Georgie, don't leave. 78. Oh, don't put it on me. Just, hey, come on. Where's the other screens? I don't want I don't want this to get spliced up, Georgie. I'm not going to tell the story.
You have a
unless we're all
large
on the screen.
audience. You have a
Georgie,
large audience right now, Chicano,
Yeah.
and
I'm sorry, man. I was trying to. Hey, I'm trying to get back into the StreamYard thing. I was gonna take a piss in a water bottle real quick. I didn't want you guys to see that. Go ahead.
Well, I'm not going to tell the story unless you're on the screen with me co-signing.
I'm listening. I promise.
Okay,
You don't want to see me piss in a bottle.
No. Okay, yeah, we're all men.
I'm listening.
Okay, all right.
Go for it, George.
Go for it, George.
You're excused.
Okay, I'll tell this. I'll finish telling the story.
I'm listening, but I'll
George,
even step away.
And okay, I'm just going to be spitting facts. Okay, I'm going to try to say this as neutrally as possible. Okay, until George comes back, and then we can give our opinions on this whole thing. So 78 gets wind of the fact, right, that Coach Malachi is staying at the Holiday Inn. Okay, now he decides to book a hotel over there, seemingly to run into Coach Malachi. Okay, now he supposedly, according to Malachi, he got wind of this. 78 got wind that Malachi was staying at the Holiday Inn because of Bill Haney, right? So now he's mad at Bill Haney because Bill Haney was the only guy that knew. Anyways, it was a setup, right? So 78 shows up and he wants to run into Coach Malachi. Now, I feel weird talking like, you know, and I like 78 for the record, okay? And I like listening to Drew Titan for the record and Malachi. So this is just me neutrally talking about it, okay? Now, this is some drama, you know, some cheeseman, you know what I mean? So anyways, accounts differ as to what happened, but both parties agree that 78 was in the elevator by himself, right? They're going up or down or whatever. The door opens and there's Coach Malachi, and it's just 78. Malachi is surprised. They both agree that he was surprised, but he went in the elevator, right? And then accounts differ as to how the conversation went down, right? But 78 dapped him up, you know, to the non-hip people. You know, I just learned this myself. It's okay, right? It means that, you know, you got a handshake or whatever. You pounded it, whatever. 78 offered to buy him a drink, right? Said, oh, it's no problem. Like, you ain't got no beef with me. But Drew Titan's another story. And then they ended up parting ways. And then Coach Malachi ducked the weigh-in, right? He went live, ducked the weigh-in because he didn't want to run into Drew Titan, in my opinion. He never denied it, right? And and so now there's all this fallout as to like, oh, I should have beat his ass. Like, oh, you didn't do nothing. You're a bunch of internet gangsters. So like this all kept up. So now they're still beefing with each other, right? And to me, it's fascinating because in the history of the YouTube boxing community, no two people have ever met up to fight. Okay, and now the leader of the LDBC, Coach Malachi, built his name up. Well, I mean, that's an opinion, okay? But early on, he was going after the LDBC, right? And then they run into each other in an elevator by themselves, and nothing goes down. And now it's like, I should have done this. You said this. You a bitch. Like, you didn't do nothing. Back and forth. Like, I don't know. It's fascinating. I don't even know how we got in this topic, but that's what happened, y'all.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring it up. I was just.
Oh, that's what happened.
It was me. I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to get you guys all fired up. It was the conspiracy theory thing, but. Yeah, I mean, I'm for it because I love entertainment. Like I said,
It's
my
entertaining.
my favorite genre of movies is comedy. I'm entertained by comedy. I love to laugh. So pretty much, like I said, I don't go there for my source of boxing, even though like there is interesting topics. But I'm there for the entertainment. It is funny. Like most of the time, I'm at work. I put the earbuds on. I'm doing my thing. I catch a couple laughs. It's good. It's good for me. I don't really care. I don't really side with anybody. And you know, Chicano's the one that brought that up to me. Is like Coach Malachi has brought his name up upon you know, their names and stuff. And I wasn't around for the early stuff, but then I saw like the catalog, and it does show like, you know, 7A Sports this, you know, and Drew Titan saying this, and it did give him a big platform. But I think like most of like our like the big names that we watch, you know, like the Boxing Voice, Ring IQ, like D Styles. I've even seen like Drew in there like following. So I don't know what it is, but it's entertaining. It, you know, and he claims that he's down the middle when it comes to boxing. He doesn't really side with anybody, so he doesn't just like talk shit about, you know, one particular fighter. Like he's fair. Like he wasn't picking Ryan Garcia, and he has been doing nothing but praising Ryan Garcia before the PED thing. So like you know, I'm with it, and like I said, I don't really have like a horse in the race with anything. Most of the time, it's entertaining, and I don't use it like as a source, like in our chat, like, oh, so and so said this, so and so said that. Again, but it's making me look like I'm pro PBC, I'm pro Coach Malachi, I'm a Canelo hater, I'm a Bud Crawford lover. No, man, none of that. Like, I mean, I know sometimes I might take it personal, and yeah, I do get pissed off about it. But at the end of the day, like it's like brothers, right? Like I might not agree with some of the things that my brothers say, and at the end of the day, like we come back together and we're cool. It's like nothing ever happened. But it does make me worry about sometimes answering some of the stuff in the chat, because I just know it's like Julian is the first one to fucking say something, man.
Yeah, sometimes like, yeah, I'll look at the chat and I'm like, I see 50 like missed messages. I'm like, oh, they went at it again.
It's ridiculous. It's like I told him too. So we got on the phone that was like a couple of weeks ago, because he was telling me like what's gonna happen, and then I was like, hey man, look, by the way, like why do you guys think I'm a fucking hater? Like I've had my opinion about certain things, but it doesn't make me a hater. Like just because someone has an opinion doesn't make them a hater. Just like, dude, like I hate going texting back and forth, and if I, and honestly, like if you really read what I'm saying, like I'm pretty much agreeing, but I'm giving my thought on it, like on my opinion of what's happening.
You
Like,
know
I'm
what?
not,
I think what happens, George, is I'm gonna tell you straight out. Sometimes, you might be at work and you're not really looking at what we're talking about, and
that's true.
you'll read one comment and you'll just we're talking about something a little deeper maybe, and then you'll read one comment and boom, you'll totally drop a bomb on us or something, you know? And
I'm
we're
sorry.
like,
Yeah,
and then we're fucking hella pissed off at you, bro, for
I know.
real.
I could tell.
And
I could hear
we're
your
like,
guys'
hey man,
voices in
you're
the
not,
text
yeah,
messages.
yeah, we're like, hey bro, you're not even paying attention to what we're
Yeah.
saying, and
And what George
Yeah,
is like,
that's
he lightweight provokes too.
But wait, guys, come on, man. Let's
yeah,
go
a little
back to
bit.
what we were talking about, man. Come
Yeah,
on.
Yeah, yeah,
who
you're right. You're right.
Wait, you guys, why'd you guys switch the topic on us like
because
that? So what's up?
George doesn't want to be attached to elevator gate.
Listen,
Georgie,
man.
who took
Okay,
the
no problem.
L?
You can
Who
go
took
ahead
the
and
L?
what happened.
Okay, look. What happened in the elevator, which made both guys punk out, is what I want to know. Is it like they cut a deal? Hey, you know what, bro? I'm actually getting good numbers on this, and I'm making some good super chats, man. So you know, I'm gonna have to keep going with this for a little while to see what happens, man. Is there any way that you know, I don't really know you, so why are we gonna be mad at each other or some shit
Mhm.
like that? Let's just keep it going. What happened there that made these guys both punk out on each other? Because if somebody's talking that much shit about me and stuff like that, and you know,
Right.
calling me Jabba the Hunt and all this, which Chicano actually showed me, which is pretty good one. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
I'm all blaming Chicano.
I know, bro.
As if you invented that, huh? You just
Dang.
relayed the information, man. And
That's
Yeah,
all I
hey,
did,
that's
bro.
it. Just the middleman. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I
and
mean, it is
for those
interesting, believe me. Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead, no
for
problem.
those people wondering, I mean, why we even care about this is, you know, these guys have been in not Coach, but the other guys have been in YouTube for a long time, and they talk a lot of shit. They're super entertaining, and you know, they put shit away a certain way where it's just super entertaining. So of course we know them, and
Right.
you know, we thought that this dude 78 was some big thug gangster, you know, with you know, used to be a pimp, and you know, he had all this street cred.
He might have been. He might have been.
Now he's getting punked in elevators,
Well,
letting
that's the thing.
shit
Here's my thing,
slide. I
bro.
mean, he
Like,
had people paying $20 rent a month, right? That my boy Kano, he was over there like
well,
bragging. I pay $20 a month to be in LDBC. I got proof. Look,
here's my
Oh,
thing. You know,
wow.
and I say this with love because you
weird,
know,
huh?
bro, I've been listening to the LDBC for a long time. Okay, and if they get militant, it's all good by me. Like I'm a fan of 78s. I listen to him morning shows. I think they're light. I think they're entertaining. Okay, but I remember he used to talk about like when the LDBC was going to go to a fight, and he would say stuff like, well, hey, you know, we got some members of the LDBC going to this fight. Now, you know, something goes down, you know, if a member of the LDBC is fighting, if they fighting, you fighting. And I don't want to hear about how, you were near the other side of the arena or you were near the exit and you didn't see what happened. Like, you better be fighting too, right? So he tells you, like, you need to be backing up your LDBC homies. Okay. But when he's in an elevator, right, now he's got nothing to prove to nobody. You know, this and this
He's
and
a
this. He's old
grandfather.
now. Yeah,
That's
I'm
a
in my
good one,
40s.
man. The elevator don't count, bro.
Yeah, so it's like
Check the cameras.
and to me, like
There's
I personally like I don't have any real problems with anybody on the internet, right? But I don't
it's
appreciate
understood
this
that the
whole
elevator is off limits, bro. No fights can take down in there.
yeah, but I don't agree with this whole like, oh, it's just internet stuff. Like if you face somebody, like to me those are real words. This whole like it's just internet stuff. Like if somebody says it, I think they're kind of just lightweight bitching out, hoping the other guy accepts it. Because if the other guy takes it seriously, said, "Oh, you said this about you know me or my wife or my family or whatever," then that's very serious, you know. And so I don't think you could just chalk it up. Oh, it's just internet stuff. Don't mean nothing. I mean, you might hope that it goes that way, but that doesn't necessarily mean the other person's going to feel that way if they see you in person.
Yeah.
So I don't know why 78 would book the hotel just to run into him. Just like I don't know. Who took the L, Nopal? Like, you know, who took the L in this situation?
I don't know, man. I mean, 78 for sure took a public L because, you know, he didn't back up what supposedly he stands for, right? And he's been, you know, so he definitely took an L, but you know, just like Rick Ross, that one gay rapper, he said that, you know, when they asked him why he used to be a police officer or a correctional officer, he's like the truth is a little more sinister. So we don't
Mm.
know, you know what I'm saying? But he did take an L. But for a lot of these guys, really, they don't care, bro. They'll pimp out their own daughters. So, you know what I mean?
Jesus, I don't
You know what I'm
co-sign
saying?
that.
Damn, we're going real dark
You
now.
know, and here's the
Some
other thing.
people,
Go ahead,
well,
Nopal.
maybe not like that, but you know, they pimp out their girlfriends sometimes. So you know, they look at life different, bro. They might
Yeah.
not have the same values that me and you have, or other people, or whatever. You know.
You know,
So
since we're talking about it, as a fan, I just want to say this too. Like I said, I do think that Coach Malachi, you know, did talk early about the LDBC. He attacked them quite early on. But if you think about it now, like Coach Malachi, he's very well established. Okay, like he's got way more listeners than both of those guys, right? That he tends to go after. So it's kind of like this reverse thing where now that he's big and he talks shit, right, at the LDBC, right? Like, you know, who got their steady numbers, right? Don't get me wrong, they got good numbers, but nothing compared to Malachi, right? Like it kind of helps elevate the LDBC a little bit, you know, as far as what they say, because I do remember back in the day when the LDBC would say something, that was like what everybody was talking about. They said we set the narrative, and it was the truth, you know, like during like
yeah,
I think their peak was like Glovegate, right?
Glove
But when
Gate.
they would say something, everybody would fucking react. You know, now it's like, dude, it's such a saturated area. Like you could listen to anybody. Like I like the smaller streams, you know, like I mean, I do listen to a little bit of that stuff at work because Malachi's standard. But why does he keep talking about the LDBC? They're just like a small group now in the big pool.
I know. Why does Malachi bully them like that?
Well, I think, you know,
LDBC.
It's like George said, and you didn't say it like this, George, but you know, I think Malachi is somewhat like, don't get me wrong, the guy's on 5 days a week, multiple hours a day. Sometimes he goes on and just sits at home afterwards for another couple hours. So he has to produce a lot of content. But the way you can produce some of that content is by being reactive to what other people say. Because he can't just go off and talk about what he thinks. Like he's reacting to what other people are saying. And the LDBC, that's an easy thing for him to go, you know, and talk shit about. Like, oh, this is what they're saying.
Easy
you know, but
target,
like,
huh?
It's an easy target, you know, and it gives him material. And I think he's partially dependent on material, which is fine. Like I said, I'm a big fan of his, and I think he's extremely talented. But I just think like he keeps, and that's the other thing, dude. He keeps provoking the LDBC. Like to me, if you ask me, like Malachi, you know, he came out with the win, you know, by default. He saw 78 in the elevator by himself. He went right in. Right. And
Damn.
it ended.
Did he punk him, bro? Did he punk him?
No, but I mean, he showed no fear. Right. And it's like, you know, and Malachi's never said like, I'll fight these guys. It was dependent on 78 to do something about it, in my opinion. Right. So nothing happened. But like he keeps provoking the LDBC, still talking shit. Right. And I'm just like, fuck. Like,
hey,
I mean,
he's messing up his gravy train right there.
Well,
huh?
I mean,
if they retire. If them dudes retire, who else is he going to talk about?
Well, it could be that, but I mean, you keep provoking, like it just gets a little more dangerous, you know. And revenge is
you never know.
Cold. Yeah, you never know. Like I wouldn't put that kind of energy out there, you know. But then I heard this other conspiracy theorist from this guy who says that like the only reason Coach is talking like that is because he's still connected from his time in the Nation of Islam, and he's got people he can roll with too. I don't know about any of this.
Man,
stuff. Like
make a couple phone calls, huh?
It could be. I mean, like it's just entertaining. I feel bad for Georgie. Georgie, I hope you're not sweating, thinking like, "Fuck, I hope it doesn't stay up."
No, dude. Like I said, I do. I mean, I've listened to Malachi the last couple of years, and like I said, it is entertaining.
He's talented.
He's talented. Yeah, he definitely is. And then I know beginning of the year he was like, "Well, my goal is to stay away and not try to talk so much shit." And then after this happened, he's like, "Nah, that's it. I'm gonna bury these dudes for the rest of the year." And pretty much that's what he's been doing. Is like, I feel like you can only say so much shit about something, you know what I mean? And then like you just brought up, Chick, I'm like, you never know nowadays. Like everything is social media, everything. People just trying to prove a point. Like, hey, you know what? I'm the one that did this to this guy. So, and some people aren't even afraid to go to prison or face the consequences. So, I don't know. For me, like I said, I'm not a confrontational guy. I'm pretty down the middle, but that's just me. I just would stay the hell away from that kind of stuff. I would say what I had to say, like what you did already, and just let it be, and just go on about doing your shows 5 days a week.
Hey, watch them all come together later, bro. You know what I mean?
It's possible
because they're just gonna be like, "Hey, man, we're about to beat you up, but you know, we thought that maybe you could be part of the LDBC, or we could be part of the Coach Malachi crew." Something like that.
I mean, stop cutting that jig.
That's
they're saying, not me. I'm just quoting. That's not me trying to be. That's what they're accusing Malachi of. You know, ooning and cutting the what and like.
Oh shit! Of course.
Oh, you've heard it, bro. It's all over the place. Like these guys are militant right now, bro.
Oh yeah,
pissed,
for sure.
And it all ties in with like because Malachi's all. Why are we?
No.
A private conversation, and I'm saying,
hey, you know what? Once I'll tell you what. Once that do rag matches the tank top, bro, it's over, man.
Fuck. I do got to cut out right now, but no problem. Since I do have you on, just what's your prediction for tonight? What do you expect tonight?
You know what? I think that Canelo has it kind of easy with the taller fighters. So I I think that his jab is going to come out tonight. He's got a great jab, by the way. He rarely uses it, but I think that his jab is going to come out. He's going to back this dude up to the ropes and go to the body, man. His body's right there, you know. And his coach is going to tell him, go in there and whoop his ass. And basically, I think Jaime's going to get knocked out, man. Probably 8th round. I don't even like Mexicans fighting Mexicans, especially on Cinco de Mayo. It makes no damn sense to me. You know what I'm saying? It's when basically Battle of Puebla, you're fighting the foreigners. You know, I understood what Canelo said a long time ago. He had no interest in fighting Mexicans. And back then, the only one that he could have fought was Jaime Munguia, you know, who was going to get knocked out in the first or second round anyways.
Then,
You know,
yeah.
that fight was never serious for us. So we understood that, you know, there's no reason to fight Mexicans. You know, I represent Mexico. I'm trying to uplift my country and I'm trying to be pro-Mexican about it. I'm not going to go in there and tear up another Mexican. But guess what? This is what these fucking idiots want to see from Mexico, you know? It's sad that I got to put it that way, but they love this type of shit right here.
Yeah,
They
I
love
guess you
seeing,
could say, yeah, it's true.
yeah,
You could say like
they
pretty much
love
all
the
promoters.
hometown battle, you know?
Yeah, they do.
And,
I'm sorry, Sean.
and
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
yeah, basically, I think he's going to get knocked out. I think it's going to be a very entertaining fight. I would love it if Canelo just went in there and carried the dude till the 12th round and let him slide, maybe like he did Cotto. My bad. That
Damn.
wasn't that wasn't whatchamacallit, a jab anyways, bro. It was just, I think that was appropriate too, because Cotto was he represented a lot of things. So, but you know what I mean? Nah,
Plus,
he
Roach was
just
in the
skilled.
corner.
Mhm.
Yeah, he was just skilled, bro. But I hope he just goes in there and lets him slide on this one. But whatever, we'll see what happens, man. I think he
Yeah.
needs to make an example because Ryan Garcia's in there now making all these pay-per-views. We don't know what the numbers are, but
Still,
looks
huh?
like we have somebody that might be the future face of boxing.
Shit.
You know,
That's scary.
it is, because he's all over the place, bro.
Yeah,
You don't know
man.
what.
It is
what-
scary.
What's
We're
he
in a new
talking
era,
about?
bro. I think, kind of, or at least he's bringing us to that era. It's very bizarre, dude. Like
Mhm.
it's all kind of new to me. All this stuff with Ryan
And
and his
you
numbers
know what?
and his antics.
You know what's a trip about these big three crazy motherfucking boxers? And I mean big three because they represent mental health illness. Fury, Dale, and basically
Right.
Ryan is, you know, even when you watch Tyson Fury, he'll just get up out of nowhere and says, "Hey, I want to go to Antarctica," some crazy shit like that. And then they're all getting, his whole family, everybody's getting ready to go wherever he wants to go. And then he changes his mind all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you gotta indulge these people in their crazy ass thoughts, you know? It's like you gotta just let them be however they are, and that's when they're happy. Whenever they get out of their happy spot is when everything goes wrong for them. So it's like, you know, the way that Ryan Garcia had his training camp, he was comfortable, shit like that. He was getting whatever he wanted. I mean, he was saying the craziest shit, and look how it turned out, you know? Yeah, this shit's a crazy ass era.
Yeah,
Guys,
it
go
is,
ahead.
man. Definitely is. Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, no Paul. I mean, I'm glad it wasn't just me and Chicano, which I don't mind, but I was almost scared that it was just gonna be by myself. It probably would have been a 45-minute show, but yeah, you guys came through. I appreciate it. You know, I think we're all in agreement that it is Canelo's night. I think it's gonna be a decision. I could definitely see like if everything is going Canelo's night, I think he probably would carry him a little, get him to the end, and then yeah, I mean, it's always a good thing when the face of boxing wins because you know that just means more fighting. It's still good for the sport because we don't know what the future holds in the next couple of years, especially who's the next face, right? Because there's really nobody that you could think of. You know, Fury and Joshua were pretty close to being considered like the era, like the of this era, but we really don't know who's going to carry the sport. I'm just hoping for the best because I mean, dude, I love boxing since I was a kid, and I'm still here. You know, I haven't done shows in a very long time. That's how much I love the sport that I love to talk about it. Um, But yeah, man, like let's hope for the best. Um, I really don't know what's gonna come about this Ryan Garcia stuff, but hopefully something good, and he does, carry on and ride with the wave that he got from this fight over Devin Haney. Nobody expected that. Um, but yeah, man, again, I appreciate you guys coming on. I mean, shit, if maybe tonight we could probably come back on and recap of what we saw, or maybe
I plan to.
maybe
That's my default. I think I will. You know what I mean?
okay,
It'd be nice to
okay.
have you guys on because, like, as long as the old lady gives me permission, man, we're gonna fucking get on and talk about this fight. I mean, it's always fun to hang out with the homies, man.
Oh,
So
for sure, man, for
yeah,
sure. Chicano, would I mean, in the group, let me know if you want to do it, or me. I'm gonna have my setup ready to go. So once that fight's over, I'll be running over here, and we
cool.
can go ahead and talk a little bit about boxing. Again, guys, thanks for coming on. Opal, Chicano, it's good to hear you guys' voices because we're in the text all the time. You guys, hey man, I love you guys. You guys are like brothers, But thank you guys again for watching the show, and enjoy your guys' fights tonight.
Enjoy, y'all.